good causes for Africa. You have your organizer of this Pan-African conference. I really appreciate that. How did you get the idea?
Well, the idea came really as a result of my taking trade missions to the continent.
Okay.
And I was exposing business people to real opportunities, but nothing was happening. And then I was exposed also to the fact that the African Union was invited the diaspora to become part of its deliberative body as a region, and the people who were involved in organizing it. And then there was two things that struck me right away as to why nothing was happening. One, people do not know how to be involved in international trade. They simply don't know. They want to do it, and they say they want to do it, but when you get right down to it, the nuts and bolts of doing a trade transaction, they really didn't know. Or if they tried, based upon the fact that they didn't know, they were failing. The other was that it seemed to me that if the diaspora was going to get involved in the African Union, and a key element of that would have to be international trade and commerce.
Yes.
So what we decided to do was put this conference together to address both those issues. So in effect, on one hand, we want to expose people to the world of international trade and all the elements that are involved in it, provide them with a resource base they can use should they want to get involved. But we also want to begin to organize people, especially people in the diaspora, to engage in developing and emerging economies of Africa through international trade and commerce, but to also set it up as a bilateral, if you will, mutually beneficial relationship, so that there's reciprocity between the African nations and the U.S. and of course people in the diaspora, which includes Central and South America, Europe, Asia. Wherever we are is where Africa is, and that's what we need to begin to organize to make effective and functional.
Okay, thank you very much. But what's the outcome?
Well, the outcome already has begun to happen. This campus has already agreed to house this program permanently.
Okay, so every year?
Yes, and not only that, but they're looking at developing a curriculum around the program that we developed here. So that in effect, what can happen now is through the Africana Studies program, anyone who wants to do business in Africa could, within the next year or so, come to Cal State Dominguez Hill to take a course, a certificated course that would provide them with the credentials they need and the skills they need, either individually or as a business, to begin to engage in Africa and international trade, and do it from knowledge, from knowing exactly what to do and how to do it properly, so that they don't lose their money and they benefit from the transaction. The other thing that has happened is that we've already been asked to do this conference in another university, Jackson State, Mississippi, and they've already begun planning for us to do the conference in Mississippi next year. So we've also been asked to do this conference in the Caribbean. We were asked, in fact, I have a meeting coming up with the Caribbean ambassador to the U.S. in a week at a conference. They're going to present me at the conference, talking about this conference.
About this conference, yes,
right?
Exactly.
And the idea is to replicate this effort somewhere in the Caribbean, and Lord knows where, but for the same reason. To begin, so what we'll be doing is we'll be establishing what I'm assuming would be university-based links, so that a university in the U.S. would be linked to a university in the Caribbean. And through that linkage, we also begin to train international trade, but also begin to facilitate trade, commerce between those two regions.
Exactly.
We do the same thing in Africa. In fact, I've already been invited by the Council General for Côte d'Ivoire to begin to develop a program whereby we would be going to Côte d'Ivoire sometime next year as a guest of the President of Côte d'Ivoire. Okay, and for the same reason, we can talk about how programs like this can be established there, and we can begin to have some reciprocal bilateral trade relationships as a result of it. So it's happening. It's happening even as we speak.
Already, yes.
Yeah.